Tuesday. I'm your co-host of Little State Big Voices, Tracy, and I'm here with Shahida Ali,
Oh, I don't
the
get to my
incomparable.
fabulous. Oh, okay. He's coming with that. I was too
Incomparable,
fast.
you know what I'm
I was
saying?
too fast.
But the whole point is that we're here, we're back. This is
Four.
episode
Four.
number 4, and it's all about two sisters, two states, and one love. That's why we're here. That's why we come to you every Monday.
And we really love that people love the last podcast we did with Sydney.
That was
A
amazing.
lot of great reviews. I'm so happy to have him. I listened to it like 3 times, not just to hear myself, but because it was so funny.
It was funny.
And he really did have some good insight. I loved his whole process. And it is Black History Month.
Yes, it is.
And the theme of Black History Month this year is?
The theme is African Americans and the arts. So, first of all, did you know that
No.
Black History Month had themes?
No, I did not.
This is my first year knowing that there was a theme situation going on. And it could be the first year of it, or it could have been going on the whole time and I was sleeping on it. I don't know. But I love that because sorry y'all, because I love the arts. I love culture. I like a good movie, a good television show, which is not really the arts per se, but going to a museum, all the things that incorporate art, crafting, all that stuff gives me the feels.
Yeah, I think I want to take up screenwriting this year.
Okay.
I think Sydney inspired me a little, and I was just in the kitchen because we are recording this at Lit Arts RI.
Yes.
And they have this nice little. So now you get to see our space.
Yes. Cheers to Lit Arts RI.
And I was just looking that they have a screenwriting class
I
on
peeped
every
that.
level, and we know that I wrote a novel and I'm really going to try and get it published, but I also have like ideas for screenwriting, and so I think I really want to pursue that this year.
I love it. I like seeing original things, whatever they are. I like seeing original shows that kind of are outside of the box. There's such a formula that goes on in Hollywood, and you see the same repetitive, stuff over and over again. So now I'm interested in, seeing somebody do something different than what I'm used to. So when Netflix gets on board with new projects, Hulu starts, kind of introducing new types of genres, I get excited about that stuff.
And so do I. And as the theme is for Black History Month, arts and culture, I got to bring up Issa Rae because she's a huge influence on me, because I will never forget that YouTube series.
Yes, awkward.
What was it? Diary of an Awkward Black Girl?
Something like that.
I was addicted.
See, I never watched it.
You didn't?
I'm gonna clear my throat, y'all. Excuse me. No, I never watched it, but I knew about it. Somehow I knew about it when she started to emerge, like when Immature first got started.
Mm-hmm.
I said immature, insecure. First got started. I started learning more about her. So she's definitely awesome. And here in Rhode Island, we have a lot of great African American art and culture like icons among us. We're actually going to bring some of them here. We're going to interview them because the feedback on interviews was great. So we're definitely going to be bringing some people in that space here live and direct for you.
But yeah, and what I was saying about Issa, you have to go back and watch it. I mean, it's like, it might be a little bit hard now because I think when it came out, it was like 2009.
It was a while ago.
It was very, very early on, and it was grainy. You knew that it wasn't like professional, but it was enough to get her a strong audience base, myself included, and for people to clock in every single week.
I gotta check it out. I just like who she is. I actually read her book, which was really
I did too. That was one of the book club ones, right?
I think it was.
Yeah. So I did read it too,
She was good.
And one of the things I was so surprised about her is she definitely started from the bottom, but she was in a nice middle, comfortable position to do so.
Yeah, she was.
Her
dad is a physician, but she had, she had a strict
what her family's Nigerian?
Her dad, I think, is from Senegal. It's West
Senegal.
Africa for sure.
Okay.
And her mom is American,
Yeah, her
African
mom is an
American.
African
I
American.
think Louisiana, something like that, or
One of the southern states. I can't remember.
Missouri or Louisiana. It was like somewhere. Look.
Well, my family's from Missouri. I just all the time because it's a hard state. It's a hard state, but no, actually, it's very beautiful. I can't say anything really too negative about it.
Big shouts to Issa, and she's doing her thing. Like I love that for her. So,
and another thing I want to mention about, I don't think probably I've ever really celebrated African American History Month as much as I have the last few years. Now, when I owned Mixed Naturals, we used to do a presentation called "The History and Evolution of Black Hair." And so I have done that,
Well, expound on that, because that reached beyond the boundaries of your shop. It actually branched out into the public library, right?
Oh, the library, the state house, and different departments of human services in Massachusetts and in Rhode Island. But the point of it was basically for us to understand how integral the hair has been for us, not only in America, but we brought all of this and held on to so much tradition as we came here as enslaved people. And we held on to a lot until this day. We've all have always expressed ourselves through our hair. And this year, I'm doing something completely different. Actually, next week. So I'll be practicing all weekend long. I'm doing the history and evolution of soul food.
Yes.
And I'm excited about that because one of the main parts I want to focus on is our relationship as African Americans or people of color dealing with their cultural foods and how it's interpreted. But for us, it's really different because it has been used as the way to shame us.
Right.
And I really want to start us, and I think we have, way back, taking back the narrative.
Part of it is things that we latch on to, be it PTSD from the experiences related to that. But, there are definitely triggering foods. We know what the foods are, people. We know what the foods are that trigger us, that maybe you don't necessarily want to be seen eating it at the company picnic, or, you don't want to be, too affiliated with. I eat it all, and I don't care who I eat it in front of. So let's
and that's my point. And then I don't even think I'm doing it in a mixed audience, of course. So it's going to be all different.
You're doing it in your workplace,
yeah, to
kind of paint the picture. So this is something that you're putting on for your office.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and like I said, my intention is to bring awareness to how we are affected by that and why we shouldn't be. And it's not on us to change those narratives. We shouldn't feel a certain amount of shame just because we buy watermelon.
Right.
You know who I'm talking to.
Listen,
my besties. My besties will not buy watermelon.
I just started appreciating watermelon. So when I was a kid, we would eat it. There was no stigma associated with it in my household because my family's Afro, Caribbean and Latino. So food was just food. There was no you don't eat this in front of the watermelon was just the watermelon. Then one time I ate it down to the rind part and got really sick because it was so good. And I got sick, and then I didn't like it again for years after that because I had that negative affiliation, just that personal negative. But then I of course I'm not blind to all the different tropes that are related to it in America, and the advertisements that feature this watermelon and this pickaninny with the hair and the lips and everything. That wasn't what stopped me from eating or buying watermelon. It was that experience that I had. But when I rediscovered it, was actually, I think I had a feta and watermelon salad or something.
I remember when you was talking about that. That was
a
year or so
hold
ago.
Up. I was the watermelon's actually really good. And so I kind of got back into it. And now we, when it's in season, we buy watermelon all the time. We cut it up. We make smoothies, juice, water, whatever. I have no problem. And I will walk around the supermarket. I will pick up the watermelon first and walk around the whole supermarket. I ain't hiding my watermelon or my fried chicken from anybody.
Now, see, for me, it's never been watermelon. I never had an issue with that. I never had that in my family or any other food, really. But it was fried chicken.
Really?
It was like in certain settings, I did not want to be that black woman, that black girl eating the fried chicken.
What settings?
Definitely when, I'm around my white friends. And they will be friends of mine.
And they will be eating it themselves. So
and I, but this was, I was
fine.
much
Let's
younger. Much younger. So I didn't carry that for the longest time. But I did have that issue. And even now, to this day, there'll be times when I'll have the fried chicken and say if I'm at my desk or something. And it hit me in the back of my head. But that's just one of those things that has been put upon us. And so we constantly have to fight that within ourselves, because there are other people who will never eat fried chicken.
Yeah.
Never eat. And then there's...
You're missing out, people.
Big time. And then there's a thing, too, where it was a northern against southern thing when it came to foods, because northerners, as we moved up here, we started to feel like, that food, southern food, soul food, was too good for us. We wanted better. So we kind of shamed southerners for that type of food. Now, that happened in my family many, many times. Like, even I, to an extent, would, if... I don't know if chitlins is good for you. But there's some jokes in there.
So I've never ate a chitterling.
Oh, yeah, see, you say chitterling, and that is not how anyone says it.
I have never consumed a chitterling,
a chitterling. I'm disappointed that she keeps saying it.
It has nothing to do with the pork. So I don't eat pork anymore. But when I ate pork, I still didn't eat chitlins. But I would eat a pigtail, and I would tear up a pig foot. Like, honestly, my mom probably makes the best pig feet.
And I think that's a more Caribbean, too.
That pigtail and the beans, listen.
That you accepted that more. You accepted that more than a black northerner up here. Because not up here. That is something that, you really... And when I say up here, I meant Boston, because that's where I'm coming from. And that's where I got the negative connotations for, anything pig. But, like, I did have chitlins when I was, chitlins, I said. I did maybe, 7 or 8. My grandmother, she's cooking it. And I was always fascinated with the eating of the hands. That, you see a lot of older black women or black people do with the cornbread, the sopping it, and the greens, and everything was ate with the hands. So I wanted to eat the chitterlings because I like the way my grandmother ate with her hands.
And that's a very African, it's a very ethnic thing to eat with your hands. And actually, there are studies that show...
things that came from Africa that we held on to for centuries.
But there's studies that show that you have a better connection with your food, and you probably eat less and enjoy and eat better when you actually take the utensil out of the eequation and you eat body to body, basically.
I think I read that somewhere too, and I think because it's the communal food that they have, when they put the food in the center and everybody kind of eats from it. I think I read something like that. And usually there's a
bread and everything. That's what so you're, in this instance, it's like a cornbread and But so coming from a family where some of the favorites in the family were iguana eggs, pigtails. We didn't really do a lot of chicken feet, but that's a very Latino and Caribbean thing.
We never did chicken feet.
But also conch, which is a big old snail. Love, very delicious, by the way.
I didn't have that until I went to Barbados on my honeymoon.
I don't know if they're cooking it right. But anyway, I do.
What's wrong with Barbados?
So nothing wrong with Barbados. I love my Bajan people. Please don't come for me.
Come for her.
So I feel like when you go on a touristy thing and they give you conch, they don't prepare it for you properly.
We were in the back roads of
If
Barbados.
you were in the back roads, then you got the right
No,
one.
it wasn't at the hotel.
If you if you're too close to the like wherever your tourist little situation is, they're not gonna. What you got to do with conch, which we totally have gone left with this conversation, but and this is a food. This is a related, I guess, because it's still Black culture, but you have to pound that snail because it's a very tough meat. But when it's called cracking it, and you crack it with a mallet. When you tenderize that, delicious. But anyway, continue. African American soul food.
Well, that's it. I'm like, I'm very enthused. I'm very happy to be doing it. The research has been like great. I could definitely go deeper into it, but I feel like the biggest concentration for me is I want to really get on to the stereotypes. So are you bringing
food in is the question.
So,
because we could talk about it all day. You could give me stuff to read and to look at, but are we getting served?
You are getting served.
Okay.
But unfortunately for my coworkers, they really think I'm cooking this. And I'm like, you all know me for the past 5 years, and I'm not cooking a damn thing.
So who's cooking?
Julia is providing the samples.
Ken PVD?
Is it Ken's PVD or just Ken's Soul Food?
I think it's Ken's Southern Kitchen.
Yeah. So she's on Washington Street, right across the street from where I am, and she will be providing the samples. And I keep telling these people, it's not a full lunch. It's
finger
samples.
Food. It's finger food.
It's collard greens. I think we have a mac and cheese, some cornbread, chicken, and sweet potatoes.
The biscuits? Are you gonna do her famous biscuits? You gotta have them.
I don't know if she's doing biscuits.
If you come to Rhode Island, if you come to Providence and you go to there's a wonderful menu of. So my favorites are the fish. So it's catfish.
The catfish, mine too.
And her honey biscuits, and she does a bucket of biscuits and puts them right on the table, and they're big and they're fluffy and they're glazed and.
Mine
delicious.
Is the beignets.
Oh, the beignets are really good, but they don't always have the beignets. They always have the biscuits.
I know, but when she has and I think that's more of a summer is when she has the beignets. And I remember a couple of times. Seasonal. I remember one time my friend Cynthia and we went over there, and she gives you 4. 4 come in so we ate the 4, and this is right after work.
Oh, you got to order a second batch.
We didn't. No, we had no business getting another batch.
But that's it. So, okay, this is what you do
when
you go to
small.
Ken.
They're not small.
When you go to Ken, you get in there. If you want to just sit at the bar, you pull up to the bar. If you want to be seated, you might want to make sure you get your little reservation on. But you might be able to just walk in. You go in, you order your food, you get your biscuit, you order your cocktails, because the cocktails are
Black Girl Magic.
Fantastic. That's actually the name of one of the cocktails.
Black Girl Magic.
And it's got glitter in it.
It's beautiful.
You have to order that.
And I don't even drink, but that's my favorite.
There's another one that I really like too, but they're all good. And then you order all your stuff. You listen to some music. You rock out.
The music is always good. Her 80s playlist is ridiculous.
Open kitchen. You see what's happening back there with your food. Julia's usually milling around, just smoozing and entertaining and being a very fabulous friendly hostess. So just go to Ken and feel like you're at home. You're among friends. Beautiful artwork
you
too.
Definitely are among friends. I said, she's like the best hostess, and I know a couple of people that have gone over there from like where I work, and they always rave about her and them feeling so comfortable. So it is a great place to go to. She is.
It's hard to
How
leave.
many years has she been over there?
I want to say it was like maybe she started in the pandemic. Are we in like year 3 or 4 for her?
Yeah.
And she does a block party in the summertime as well. I'm hoping that she brings it back.
I'm hoping that they move PVD Fest back downtown, because when the first time I went to PVD Fest, and my kids have been going all this time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I went for, the first event or whatever, and I liked it. But it was 2 years ago. I went to the first one where I went for the whole weekend. I never had so much fun.
You brought me over there.
Yeah, but that was only the first
that was the
night,
one night,
and it wasn't popping.
That was good, though.
I know. But the Saturday, Saturday night and Saturday afternoon was
So
popping.
PVD Fest, for those who don't know what it is, it's actually a good thing. Like if you want to drive over from Connecticut or Mass, it's a
Oh,
fun
you
and
definitely
it's a
need to.
weekend of it. So you can either grab yourself a hotel room or pick a day that you really want to. And it's a mix of cultures. It's Black culture, Latino culture, American culture. It's all
African. There's a
African,
lot.
and then like lots of food trucks. So you
Mm-hmm.
have your pick. I hate to say pick of the litter when you're talking about food, but pick of the
Yeah.
litter from all the different
Just like
food.
pick a trucks.
Right, like your pick of your selection of food options, and I mean everything is just so good, and that's where you meet really nice,
Mm-hmm.
fun, interesting people.
And she had the little pouches of like Black Girl Magic.
Yes, we're going back. So now back to Ken. She had so because it was a block party and we were outdoors, she had spades. She
Mm-hmm.
had other card games going on, a DJ
It
outside,
was so
and then
much
the
fun.
pouch. It was a like a to go pouch
It's like a little
of your little
plastic pouch.
beverage,
Yeah.
and then you just stick your straw in, and you can walk around with your little bag of drink. Delicious.
Love PVD Fest. That's one of the best things about Rhode Island. But anyway,
PVD fasting can.
but back to
That's
what
K
else
I
is going
N.
on for well there's a lot going on
There's
for
a lot going on. So, as I said, arts and culture is the theme of Black History Month. As far as celebrating it myself, I feel like I did it a lot as a kid because we celebrated in school.
mm-hmm.
So that was like, a lot of it. But then, when I was raising my kids, I didn't make a concerted effort to do a lot of
Mm-hmm.
things. But
That's how I feel.
when I started hosting groups on Facebook. I host a group called Mommy Nieces that's specifically for mothers or female caregivers, or it's really open to people who care for children now at this point. But I started doing like some profiles and things like that, and a couple of trivia little things, and learning a lot more. But I think Black history is American history, and I say this all the time because
We all do.
this is just the 29 days that have been chosen to spotlight and highlight it, but we're living this every single day, and our history is very important for us to know, because if you don't know what happened before, you can't.
Stop what's going to happen in the future
Right, and you can't,
when you need to.
so
Because there's a lot that we need to stop and halt right now
right, but
that can send us right back to the past.
have mercy. But anywho, there's a couple of things going on in Rhode Island right now that I really wanted to kind of spotlight. There's two things that are just like you can't escape if you're living in Rhode Island right now.
Mm-hmm.
Number one is the bridge. And number
Yeah.
two is that Rhode Island just got approved for a site for, let me get the semantics correct on this, the mnemonics. So Rhode Island's first overdose prevention site has gotten approval for a location. If anyone doesn't know what an overdose prevention site is, this is very like cutting edge for the United States, but actually it's something that Europe has been doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so advocates, because we are in such a huge opioid crisis all over the world, but Rhode Island being the smallest state, it really shows here, because we're a small place. And if we were just talking about PVD Fest being in Kennedy Plaza, that's where a lot of people who suffer drug addiction and struggle with it live. They're
Mm-hmm.
living in that space,
Mm-hmm.
so it's kind of hard to go out and revel and have a good time when people are out here suffering. So what this site is going to offer is a place for people to go, and if they need to use, they're going to use in a safe facility where there's medical staff available to prevent overdoses, and also to keep people from doing these things, out in the public. And it's a very controversial subject,
Mm-hmm.
because you can kind of go either way with it. There are people that say no, you shouldn't encourage this behavior, and other people are saying it's going to happen regardless. Let's be proactive
Mm-hmm.
about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not here to weigh in about it.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to kind of put it out there that Rhode Island being, I think, the first state to adopt this, I don't think it's going away, and I think we'll see it elsewhere. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Where will it be?
So that's a good question. I'll actually post that in our socials.
Mm-hmm.
I'll post the update because I did share it to our stories. Check out our stories, by the way, on Instagram and also on Facebook, Little State Big Voices. We're constantly posting stories with business information, but there are also news articles there. So I'll get the details on where exactly the site is. and I'll
My
post
friend
this.
Rose said, "Can you just chill with the food?" Because every time she looks at our Instagram stories, she's like,
Absolutely
I just want to
Rose,
eat up everything."
Rose, listen, eat your food. Life is too short to not take pleasure in what you eat. I was saying this. I don't think I've eaten at Burger King more than once a year in the last
Mm-hmm.
decade. I There are very few fast food restaurants that I go to on a regular basis anymore because when I eat something, I want it to be delicious
Mm-hmm.
and I want it to be worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I live my life. If I post food, it's going to be good food. It's going to be local restaurants or it's going to be some amazing DIY situation. So sorry, Rose, but the food is not going to stop. The food train is off the track.
That's funny. But so, no, that's a very serious subject. I don't
Yeah.
know much about it. I thought Boston was doing something similar.
Boston needs to because anyone from Massachusetts or living in and around Boston or who has visited knows that we've kind of unfortunately corralled a lot of our opioid addicts. And I say our because I'm still 1 foot in Boston, but methadone mile is the new name that they've
But isn't
dubbed
that
us
they
as.
can go and get methadone, but
They
then
can
they're
go,
turned out. So
yeah,
this place is that they can actually stay
they can
until.
use in the facility. It's a tough subject
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
because I don't. Here's the thing. I don't think someone's gonna come off the street who's never used and walk in here and start using.
No, I don't
You
think so
know,
either.
this is for
This
someone
is
who's
people
already so far
already
gone
addicted. Yeah.
that they need a place. And I mean,
Uh,
I know people who have, just been out for a night of dining at a restaurant and someone OD'd in the bathroom
mm,
and they were with their child.
mm,
So if we don't address what's going on with the
mm-hmm,
opioid crisis one way or another, and if anybody doesn't like it and has a better solution, let's talk about it. Let's,
mm-hmm,
instead of vilifying people who are, have a disease, who
mm-hmm,
have an addiction, and people are not born, usually. Some people
mm-hmm,
are born addicted, but the majority of people fall into this lifestyle for a reason or another.
mm-hmm.
And not everyone who's homeless on the street is an opioid addict. Some people have mental health issues. Some people have just fallen down on their luck. But usually, drug use and abuse leads to homelessness. It's
Mm-hmm.
a problem that affects all of us. So if we can help in some kind of way,
And let's just face it, we have a serious mental health issue going on here
serious
that no
crisis.
one really wants to address. I mean, and I think for a long time I thought when people say, "Oh, we have a mental health issue" or whatever, I feel like a lot of politicians just threw that out there to shut you up on certain things like gun control. Well, let's deal with the mental health and not address the guns, but then you take away money from mental health
Yeah.
for, and insurances for people. So it is, like you said, it's one of those kind of like tough situations, but I'm glad to see that Rhode Island is being like,
It's a
proactive with
pioneer.
this.
It's a pioneer in it, and like I said, whether you're for it or against it, it's coming. So it's just good to know about
Just
it.
I wonder what neighborhood it's coming to.
I'll look it up.
And how they will address that in that neighborhood, because that's one thing I feel like most people were afraid of, is that when it comes to your neighborhood,
Yeah.
they're just dropped off,
So-
and then there's no protection for you and your home.
So here's the thing. So quickly, we have a bridge problem in Rhode Island, the Washington Bridge. We might need a new bridge, but we'll talk about that later, and we'll definitely put more information about that in our socials. But I want to go back to what you just said about the location. So here's the thing: sometimes we want these solutions, but we don't want them in our backyard. So Boston is going through that right now with the immigrant population
in Roxbury,
right?
Yeah.
They've decided to. People have actually been living in Boston Logan Airport because they're refugees. I hate that word, but they've come from, fled their country to come here, and people are living in the airport. And of course, that doesn't look good. We don't like that. When you're trying to go to your trip to, wherever you're going, the Caribbean, we live these charmed lives, and these people barely have anything to eat or, anywhere to sleep. So they're moving them to a facility in Roxbury. People are up in arms. They don't like it. They don't want. But then where? If not,
But I
nowhere.
agree. with those people in Roxbury because it seems like whenever there is an issue, that's a dumping area.
You think so?
I do. And I feel like we have a lot of space in Massachusetts. A lot of empty lots, a lot of towns that have like space where you can put these people, but those towns pay a lot more in taxes or their mayors don't want it. I mean, you can take them a little further out.
So what about like proximity? Because then if you move further out, you're getting into food deserts where they might. So being centrally located, so maybe another city like a Springfield or a,
Springfield's another one that's dumped on.
Well,
but I'm just saying, it seems like the cities that are predominantly black are where they choose to put these all the time. That's my only thing. And I want these people to be, in safe locations. But there's nothing wrong with when you're talking about food or jobs or anything like that, busing people back and forth.
Well, that's expensive.
Yeah, and so is land.
That's true.
But those things are okay for black people to have to deal with every time, but nobody else has to really deal with those.
So what is it that you think that people are going to have to deal with?
Their overcrowdedness. Where in Roxbury are you going to put it?
I think there's a stadium. They're not building anything.
They're building, so it's going to be in a stadium that's not used?
And so it's a rec center. So that's what people are complaining about. Like, well, if you put them in this rec center, where are we going to do our extra?
Yeah, where are they going to do their stuff?
You got Reggie Lewis. You got the YMCA.
But maybe that one is close in walking distance for their neighborhood.
I get that.
And I'm just saying, the only thing I'm saying is that when it comes to things like these, the brunt of it always has to be the black and brown communities have to deal with it. So now I have to figure out where I have to go.
At one point, they were on the Cape. At one point, they weren't
going to stay
I
on the
feel
Cape.
like nowhere you send them, are they going to be welcome?
Again, there's a lot of empty space between Roxbury and the Cape. There's a lot of empty space in those places. You could build something. We have a lot of money that we have money that we're giving to other countries.
So, and I don't know if I'm assuming this is temporary. Like, they're not going to take up permanent residence there. But
But then a lot of times those things get lost in the paperwork, and the next thing you know, it's 10, 15 years.
So then we have to ask ourselves, like, who's responsible? Who has control over these things? I think at the end of the day, I'd rather them be at the rec center than in the airport. Whatever.
I'd rather them be at the airport because then you're going to really figure out what to do with them.
Yeah, they figured it out. They put them in the rec center.
That's not figuring it out. That's dumping in black and brown neighborhoods again.
Well, yeah,
and I don't want it. And trust me, I want the best for these immigrants who are trying to escape something. So when I say dumping, that's a harsh word. I don't mean it like because these are families. These are little children.
I think a lot of
that deserve like school. They deserve a decent place to live. They deserve a roof over their head. I want the best for those babies. And I feel like if we really if not we, because we are not in control of this, if they really sat down and weren't always fighting over, who's paying this much in taxes and we need to give them all the breaks, instead of always saying like, this is an easy fix. Put him here in Roxbury. Put him here in Dorchester. Put him here in Mattapan, where there's already not a lot of space. I'm
assuming these people who are unhoused and coming from other countries, I'm assuming they're brown and black too, the majority of them. So it's like, are they better off among us? Or are they better off?
Because the Irish are not having those issues when they come undocumented to Boston.
It's like, are they better off in a place where nobody looks like them? It's a topic that we're definitely going to have to circle back on, because it's a tough one. The same as this clinic, which I was not able to find the location of. I can't search and talk at the same time. I can't walk and chew gum apparently at the same time. I wasn't finding it, but I will post it for y'all on our social media, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and I'll make sure that you get the information about where that first clinic is going to go. But yeah, it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
It is happening. So a lot of stuff, and it being an election year, these are all the topics that you will hear a lot about until said folks get into office. And then that's when you said things get shuffled up, the paperwork gets lost, and then
they just end up staying there. I mean, I feel like
I don't think they're gonna stay there, but I do get that the people need.
I think they.
Well, I think
if the people in Roxbury are not hard on it, but and we know typically their voices don't mean a lot. If they're not hard,
but can I just tell you, the people of Roxbury ain't just black anymore.
Yeah, and that's a thing too. Again, because you pushed out so many that are black and brown, though. Now they can't even afford to live in areas that they were born and raised in.
Outrageous.
But you made me lose my point, girl. You can't interrupt me.
But so here's the other thing, and I say this all the time. We kind of lay claim to these neighborhoods. Before we were there, somebody else was there. And of course, there's white flight that plays in all of that. But we weren't the first ones. And neighborhoods turn over. We get sentimental about that stuff. But
I agree with what you're saying, but how long has those neighborhoods been predominantly low-income black people? Oh, and not even all completely low-income, because a lot of people have bought homes there that, unfortunately, they sold, and now that's where the gentrification.
My family all over the country is happening, and I heard people talk about it when I was in Phoenix, Arizona. I heard people talk about it in Austin, Texas. And I get it. But so then what we have to do is we have to focus on, all right, generational wealth and how do we want to establish ourselves. So when we bought our house in Rhode Island, we purposely bought it in a neighborhood that's, I wouldn't call it desirable. Like for most people. For me, it was desirable because it reminded me of Roxbury. It reminded me of Dorchester. A lot of people, when they're, becoming upwardly mobile, they want to move to a Cranston or a Johnston because it's the suburbs. I live in Providence proper, not North Providence, in Providence.
Why'd you have to throw out North Providence?
I'm throwing North Providence out there because I don't understand why in the smallest state, in one of the smallest cities, there's a north and an east and a regular Providence, and we got different mayors in different school districts. Bull crap. I don't like it.
Why?
Because why isn't it just Providence? Why do my kids have to be excluded from certain schools when I'm signing them up because we're north versus east versus
that's an education thing,
Providence.
And I think a lot of states have kind of been addressing that. But having your own mayor, or having that breakup of different towns,
for what?
I'm all for it.
Why?
I love my little Lombardi.
Well, why can't he do ours too? I don't understand why you need all. It's ridiculousness, is what it is, and unnecessary. One person. Why are you paying 3 people for that? Those are 2 salaries. Like we got 3 different mayors.
It's 2 different. They're different towns.
It's Providence.
It's not.
North Providence.
North Providence is not Providence.
It has Providence in the name. It's just the north side.
No, ma'am. That's not how it works. That's not how towns work.
They made that up.
Made what up?
North Providence being separate from regular Providence.
Right, because they wanted to create a different town. Whatever. We can look into when they became their own chartered.
Call it Shahidaville. I don't understand why you got.
I like North Providence.
No,
because I want that proximity.
No, I don't like it.
Without the Providence
I think it's
taxes.
very elitist. It's extremely elitist to separate it into East and North, and y'all think y'all are better than us.
What?
Keep it a buck. They do. So
we do not.
Where Shahida lives,
I'm like down the street.
They got rabbits in her yard, and then she got house.
Man,
like all the
you talking about rabbits? Like it's not like I'm not run over with rabbits. It's not cute.
She doesn't have a liquor store in. Like it's maybe a mile away.
No, it's not that far. I got 2 liquor stores within walking distance from my house.
You can't see the liquor store from your house.
That's because there's trees across the street from me. It's a big lot.
There are 3 liquor stores in my, like, I can throw a stone and hit 3 liquor stores.
Where?
There's the one on Admiral. No.
Girl, you cannot see that from your house.
It's in my backyard. There's that one, then there's the one by the 7-Eleven, which I don't go to. And then there's another one that's even closer by. I have several bodegas. Like, I live in the hood. Like, this is what I'm trying to explain to you. I live in the hood of Providence. I purposely did that. And to circle back on this whole conversation of, I purposely wanted my house to be in a mixed ethnic urban community, and I got white folks on my street too. Lots of them, and there's actually some Irish people because they have their flag up that are up the street, but it's pretty much a black and brown.
I can't believe you called us elitist. But I will say one thing. I will say not one thing. Not me.
But the people who did this.
Like when my son was playing football for North Providence High School, the parents of North Providence High School were a-holes. I'm just going to say. This was a couple of years ago.
When I tried to
Let me
sign
finish.
my kid up.
They were horrible.
Of course.
Because they treated when we would play like Mount Hope. Not Mount Hope. What's the one down the street from me? Is it Mount? No, Mount Hope is on the east side. I forget. It's Mount Pleasant. Mount Pleasant. I wanted my son to win. He was good at this football.
Very athletic.
But when they were playing, they would be like, "Oh my God!" Literally, you could walk from my house. It might be 2-mile walk from my house to Mount Pleasant. But they would act like, "Oh my God, we're in the hood." And I would never sit with the North Providence families. I would be away from them. And I would be like, I hope these kids whoop North Providence. But not Jabril, though. But the other kids. And they would. They would. And that was another thing. They were jealous.
It really was an awakening for me when I moved out here. My son was in his senior year, and I was trying to sign him up for school, and they were like, "Yeah, well, you can't sign up for these schools because that's out of your district."
Where were you trying to sign him up at?
I don't know, but I didn't like the ones that they were offering me. So basically,
in Providence,
right. So there was a So what I did was I Googled all the high schools in the area, and then I came to the school center, and I was like, I want to sign him up for this school. They're like, no, that's not in your district.
So can you do that in Boston now? Like if you're in
Boston,
Roxbury,
yeah, you can go all over.
All over.
Yeah, my sons went to West Roxbury, blah.
But that was in your district, though.
That was in our district. But that's what I'm saying. West Roxbury and Roxbury are the same. As far as signing your kid up.
Yeah.
There's no separation of West versus regular Roxbury. I mean, there is, but there's no difference. But
like in Mattapan, it's their district as well.
Right.
Because there are no high schools in Mattapan, and there are no high schools in...
There's some charters, I think.
Back then, were there
but it's like kind of the same thing. That's what I'm saying. Like, I can take it when Milton is like, no, you can't come over here because we're Milton, but don't have the same damn name as me and tell me I can't come to the family reunion. Anyway,
let's move on. She's in her feelings with this.
I am. I have strong feelings about it. But what did we?
Black History Month.
What we want to wrap on is your girl.
My girl who?
Your girl, Nicolata. Chocolata.
Oh, no. Before that, I wanted to talk about Stages of Freedom. Because it is Black History Month. And, it's a bookstore. And, they have, a lot of Black art and stuff. So you definitely should go there. You have to look online. But Ray Rickman is probably my favorite person in Rhode Island. Okay. Because of the swimming program that he has for little Black children, because...
That's a stigma. That's another stigma.
Yeah.
Is swimming and Black people, in case y'all didn't know.
But it's true to an extent because we don't do the swimming lessons because a lot of times for these families, they're very expensive. Y is not cheap.
Yeah.
The Y is not cheap if you have 4 children and even with 2-parent home, that's a luxury.
My kids all swim.
Yeah, my kids all swim too, and they all had swimming lessons that, I paid for out of pocket, but I was like living in Mississippi then, and it was like through this health club. But anyway, but he's doing this service, and he has done that. And my grandson has taken these swimming lessons, and now my granddaughter is participating in these swimming lessons. And so, and everything that you buy at the bookstore goes towards sponsoring a child for these swim lessons, and you can pick like any Y around
I'm
the
gonna
state.
I'm gonna contribute because I'm all for children learning how to swim. I think it's something that's a great life skill, and it makes me sad when I hear that people drown because they don't know how to swim. That especially kids, and kids are so young, they pick up things really quickly. I think that's amazing.
And children love water.
That's true.
The majority of children love water. My granddaughter, she hasn't had the proper swimming lessons until this year. But if I would take her to the beach, she's in that water for 4 straight hours. People would come up to me on the beach and like, you are not getting her out.
So I think maybe as parents, if you're not a swimmer, I'm personally not a swimmer. I want to say my husband swims. But not knowing how to swim, I would feel nervous letting my kids, especially go in the ocean. Like a pool, at least I'll do my best to try to save your life, but not like putting my kid in the ocean, and I'm not a swimmer, I would feel nervous. So that's probably why it kind of trickles down. A lot of Black and brown kids don't learn how to swim if their parents are not swimmers, but that's why I put my kids in swim lessons, basically. And I'm so glad that this is a thing.
And for a long time, there weren't a lot of places for them to learn to swim until like the Ys were, in their neighborhood. So it's just a really good service. And like I said, he has always been one of my favorite persons. He does a lot of he does a lot of programs and presentations, especially for Black History Month. And I was looking to see what he had coming up. So he's doing something on Zora Neale Hurston this month, on the February 17th, actually. So it's like a dinner and then a play or reading of her work, which I find is. So go on his site. And then also, again, buy some books or some beautiful Black artifacts, because it does go towards helping out the children get these lessons. My child being one of them.
No, I like that. I think that's really cool.
But quickly about Nimrata. She was on the Breakfast Club this week, and she was talking about the separation of the United States and how it became so very divided when Barack Obama was elected. And this is the same woman who says there's no racism in the United States, when in her own state, when she was a governor, was named Dylan. Something Dylan went into that church and shot and killed those people, and police officers took him to get some Burger King, before they took him to jail.
Trash.
There's no racism. But to try and lay racism and separation and dividedness of America on Barack Obama, who every speech he ever gave said, you may not have voted for me, but I work for you, and I'm doing the best for Democrats. I'm doing the best I can for Republicans, back and forth. Donald Trump has never uttered words like that about bringing the country together. And the Tea Party started specifically under Obama because they hated. And I don't even think it was his policy so much, because you don't see
his face.
They hated his skin color, because when you think of Clinton, when you think of Clinton, he had basically similar policies. He just followed what was before him. So it definitely was about who he was as a person, being a Black person. So for her to say that, anyway, I'm always more disgusted by her every day, but we're going to get into some more conversations, because I really think we need to understand what the 2025 project is that the Federalist Society, please look that up, and the Republican Party want to implement as soon as Trump is elected. And the thing that kills me is,
don't speak that into the universe.
And I know, I'm so sorry because
really
I'm
bad.
disgusted, really bad. They hope that he's elected, and the things that they want to implement. Now we're seeing some of it now, because remember when they took away Roe versus Wade, they said let the states decide. So when it got to Republican states, what did they try to do? They tried to gerrymander the vote. They tried to say, well, it can't be a majority. It has to be a supermajority of the people vote for abortion. So every step of the way, they're trying to stop you from having your right.
So I think the thing to understand is everything is
we
rigged.
Gotta go.
Everything is rigged. We do have to wrap, but everything is rigged. Even your favorite your favorite sports teams. I feel so everything is friggin' rigged. So what you got to do is fend for self time. Now, people, we have to do what's in our own personal best interest in regards to everything in politics and life and what have you. But what I will say about Nikki Haley, Nimrata, is that she's just out here kind of poisoning the pool, the kiddie pool, basically. I don't like that she would say something that negligent and not properly expound on it, because I'm not saying she's wrong about that. The country probably did become visibly more divided at that point, but it was
based
there.
on racism.
It was always there.
But again, my point with what she said, and I agree. I said to you earlier, what she said is, true. No, I was talking to my father when I said that. But again, people going to the Breakfast Club and Charlemagne is problematic for me.
I just hope she Hillary Clinton's herself, like hot sauce in the bag, and sabotages it.
He didn't even give her enough pushback. He doesn't know how to legitimately argue some of these points.
Well, if you're looking, don't look for journalism there. Like, real talk.
Right, but then that influences people when they go to vote.
It influences people who probably weren't going to do their research anyway.
But a lot of people don't do their research. A lot of people don't necessarily go out and let's say even read about what's going on with the Washington Bridge. You get a highlight, a point. I have no real opinion on it right now because I haven't read everything, or at least enough that I feel comfortable making an informed say like, oh, this is shit or this is not. I'm just saying I haven't done enough. But that's how the majority of people are. So anyway, we are going to wrap it up.
Do your research, or at least
Please
follow
read.
us, because we're going to give you the articles that you can at least get some more information on what's going on. So we always back up what we talk about. We're going to give you links. We're going to give you information. I will get that site detail for you. We'll get maybe the link to that Breakfast Club interview, information about this wonderful bookstore and
Stages of Freedom,
where you can get tickets. All that good stuff. And so until next week,
I'm going to take my North Providence elitist self.
And I'm going back to the hood.
North Providence is the hood. It's the hood. It's the hood. I keep telling you that.
No.
All right. Until next time.
It's still going.
I get offended when people ask me where I'm from and I say North Providence. They're like, oh, Providence? No. It's not even the same place, to be honest.
It basically is. It's like 2 seconds away.
It don't matter. 2 seconds makes a difference.
So I told her about how I told her how bougie the people were in North Providence when they would go to Mount Pleasant and get their butts blown out in football.
Okay, well, first of all, that was my team.
I know. I was rooting for you, but I was not rooting for the North Providence. What were they, Jets?
The Cougars or the Jets?
No,
Cougars.
The high school.
The high school.
Okay. So anyway, she'll get her feelings hurt on this one.